Hey everyone, Wesley here. Today, we're going to talk about the 7 things that I learned over the last 5 months doing YouTube and making YouTube videos. So let's get it. I am a photographer, mostly street photographer in most cases, wedding and portraits, sometimes when I feel like it these days, and now YouTuber. And I've been doing YouTube over the last 5 months. I started off knowing nothing about video. I had to learn everything from scratch. And I'm hoping that I'm able to break things down to help you if you're just getting started, to learn how to do YouTube and just get the basics down to get your first couple of quality videos uploaded. We're not going to blow anyone's minds today, but we're going to definitely get the basics down so you can make your first YouTube video and don't feel intimidated by some of this software that can be intimidating. It intimidated me at the beginning, and now I think I got a decent handle on how to make good video. Not making great videos, but I'm learning along the way, and that's the most important part. So with that, let's get into the first topic, and that's the importance of audio. When I first started doing YouTube, I used auto everything. I pretty much set the camera in auto. I didn't have any kind of mics. I was using the built-in mics, and I just ran with it. You know, I just wanted to make a video, and you can go back and watch it if you want. I haven't deleted any videos here, and it sounded But first things first is audio, because even if you have a bad video image, if you have good audio, people are going to want to listen if you have a good message and you have something important to say. But if your audio is terrible, it's going to just sound like nails on a chalkboard, and they're going to switch off immediately, regardless of how good your content could be. So with that, I'm just telling you, make sure you use good audio. And I'm telling you this as well. And that starts by, first tip, never use auto mic adjustments or auto gain in your camera. All that's going to do is it uses a gain control, and it adjusts the gain in your camera. But then what it does is when you clip, it will automatically adjust your gain so you don't clip. But what happened is you did clip, and that clipping sounds terrible. It sounds terrible, and you don't want to clip. So first things first, you need to set your camera up manually for audio adjustments. No matter what mic you're using, internal mic, external mic, set your audio up manually. Everybody's voice is different, the inflections are different, and I have a deep voice that tends to carry, and it was clipping the audio. Anytime I've ever been in auto on any camera, Nikon, Fuji, didn't matter, it clipped. When you want to graduate from the internal mics of your camera or your phone, you will need to get a good, decent microphone. Let's start with a lav mic. That's what I have clipped right here. It's a wired mic that plugs into my camera. It also will plug into a phone that has a phone jack, or if you have a USB to audio adapter, you can plug it into most phones. So this is a pretty cheap lav mic by Power DWise, I guess, but it was like $30 on Amazon, but you can pick up the Rode one for about $80, and it's an excellent mic. And once you learn how to use it properly, you're going to get great audio out of either one of those. This mic, once I learned how to use it properly and learned how to make some basic adjustments in Davinici Resolve, I started getting great audio. All right, so the next thing, if you want to graduate from a wired lav mic and you go into a wireless mic, with that, I'm going to plug in the wireless mic and readjust my audio settings, and I'll start the video again so you can hear what the wireless mic sounds like, and then we'll go into some more topics. All right guys, now we are back. I am on the wireless lav mic. The wireless lav mic's gonna give you just a little more flexibility to move around, walk around, not feel tethered to your desk. I did have to adjust the mic gain up a little bit. With the wired mic, I was down -7.5, and with the wireless mic, I'm at -6. Not a huge difference, but it needed a little more gain to achieve about the same level on the meter here. So this is what the lav mic sounds like. Let me know what you think. So how do you manually set up the camera? So let's figure that out. Let's get into it. I'm going to pick up my DJI here, and we are going to go to the camera. Let's do it. All right. Alright guys, now I want to show you what I do here. I hit the Q menu. Here's my adjustment to my mic. What I do is I look at my levels right here and I talk at a high level, high, 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 high. And I talk at a low, 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 low. And I make sure that I'm between half and full but not clipping. You should never see red. So if I adjust and I make the mic more sensitive, now I'm at -3. Go back into it. And it's a little taller, but it's not too bad. I could probably get away with it. You see I just clipped? I just assume set the level and forget it and not have to worry about clipping. So with that, I'm back at -6. It seems to be good. It never clips. It never goes to that red level. Test 1, 2, 3. Test clear. Hope you enjoyed that little example on how to do your adjustments. Now I set my audio adjustment on my quick menu in my Fujifilm cameras. Just makes it easier to get to the adjustment. You can go into the mic adjustments manually deep into your camera, but I highly suggest either in your My menu or on your quick menu, in whatever camera you're using, you set that mic adjustment, especially when you're in your video modes. All right, I think that's everything I wanted to cover on mics. Topic number 2, lighting matters. When you first start out, I highly advise you use natural light, because any light you're going to get is going to be probably too hard on your face, give you too hard a lighting, and it's just not going to be pleasing. Natural light from a window, either front lit or side lit, I'm blocking one of my lights when I do that, is going to probably be the better way to do that. And I'm going to show you how to do that on my DJI Pocket 3. I have my blackout curtains on behind me. I'm going to open them up. It's going to blast this camera, but I'm going to cut these lights off as well. Let there be light. It's going to clip on the main camera. All right guys, so this is what side lighting looks like. Side lighting is pretty pleasing. It's got more of a Rembrandt style lighting. It's going to light your face, give you some three-dimensionality. It's pleasing. Now you can turn around and face the camera front ways, or face the window front ways, as long as you're not into the holes of the blinds. Now you see I'm front lit. This is a nice way to do it as well. Until you get a good nice light, this will work. Amaran Aperture 60D S with a lantern, adjustable light. I can use an app on my phone to adjust it, and a newer light stand. This whole setup with the ability to put batteries on it, and the batteries are right here. This entire setup was $300. And that light is amazing. That light provides great lighting, great soft lighting. So highly recommend, don't skimp. Let me get into back into my real camera. I highly recommend you don't skimp on good lighting. It's just a few $100s. You're gonna buy like 1 million lenses and 1 million camera bodies. If you're like me, you're gonna spend so much money on camera bodies, you don't need all the camera bodies. You need lighting. Get the lighting. Next thing I want to talk about is an accent light. So what this accent light does, which is now basically overexposing my face, but what this accent light does is it provides more three-dimensional feel. So when I have this front lighting my face, this side lighting providing side lighting, this backlight shows that there's a dimension. So that was like 25 bucks on Amazon. Little cheap RGB cube, nothing special. Now the aperture version of that is like 90, but that'll do just fine. Now let's go over your basic video settings. This is the next thing that I learned. I had to go through a lot of different video settings to try to figure out what worked. And what I found that works is for your talking head, like we're doing right now, 23.98p, which is 24p, but 23.98 allows for monitors to display it properly in sync. So use 23.98 for that cinematic fill for talking head footage. When you want to do slow-mo, use 59.94, which is 60p. And when you slow that down on a 23.98 timeline, you're going to get basically a little over 2 times slowdown. So those are the 2 formats I highly recommend you get used to using. Let's go into some of the mumbo jumbo nerdy stuff, like the codecs. So I recommend H.264 or H.265 if your computer can handle it, which is 8-bit or 10-bit. I recommend you stay in 420. Unless you have a higher end machine that can decode 422, your computer's going to struggle at 422. I would imagine, unless you're got a beast of a machine, I would say stay at 420. Now we're going to talk about bit rate. So some cameras that I've owned don't have a bitrate option. The Nikon cameras that I've used for video didn't really have this option, so I didn't have to worry about it. But in the Fujis, they do. I would recommend staying somewhere in the middle, seeing what your computer can handle. I used 360 megabytes per second on last week's video. This week I'm in 200 megabytes per second. I just want to see if the footage looks that much worse, because it will save space, data space all around, and make ease for editing. I would stay in the middle. Don't go up to high bit rates unless you are sure that your computer can handle it, and that your SD cards can write that fast as well. All right, that'll get you started on video. Basic video settings. You can be in 4K, you can be in 1080, but just stick to 2398 or 5994. Stick to H.264 or 265. Stick in 420 for now, and use long GOP if you have that option. Long GOP stands for long group of pictures. It's basically like the burnt-in JPEG way of doing things. And then your bit rate stays somewhere in the middle between 200 and 500 until you figure out what your computer can use. Let's move on to the third thing, and that is never use auto white balance. At least not in studio. There's no reason for you to do that. If you're in the studio, you need to dial your white balance in, or need to figure out what you're using. I'm using a daylight light, and I have my white balance set to daylight. So everything is set to daylight. I know that it's going to be pretty good white balance, knowing that my lighting is set. Oh my God, I just rambled a lot. Don't use auto white balance. Set your white balance. Because remember, we're not shooting raw. We're shooting basically the version like JPEG. We're shooting in a burnt-in color profile. Color grading, minimal color grading is going to be available on these files. So I'm imploring you to set your white balance. Now, if you're not in the studio and you're walking around and you're out and about, auto white balance or setting the white balance for what is going on in the scene would be highly advised. But if you set it to auto white balance, you'll probably be okay when you're outside. There might be some changing conditions with cloud cover and sun, so auto white balance might be beneficial out there. But in the studio, there's absolutely no reason to use auto white balance. Next thing, don't use auto ISO. Now I used auto ISO quite a bit in the past, and I found that what it does is that the exposure, it'll think the exposure changes because it's exposing for me, and then I put a product that's dark in front of the camera, and all of a sudden the ISO has to change to expose for that dark item. So like if I did this and I had auto ISO set on, it would basically change the exposure to expose this properly. Then I would move it away and it would change the exposure again, and that would show it with some pulsing on the camera, and it just didn't look good. It doesn't look good in your video, and it doesn't make your footage look good. So set your ISO for where you need it to be. Set your camera in full manual. Right now I'm running 125 at f1.4 with my shutter speed set to 50, and I adjust these lights to give me a pretty even exposure. I'm a little underexposed, but I have my zebra set on, and it's basically overexposing that area right there, and it was overexposing my face a little bit when I leaned in right here. So I left it right there, and I'm not going to turn the lights up anymore, even though it shows on the meter here that I'm slightly underexposed. Don't use auto ISO. Dial your ISO in where you need it to be. Don't use auto white balance. Dial your white balance in where you need it to be. Remember, you're shooting JPEG more or less in video format. You can't make a lot of adjustments, so get it right in camera. All right, let's go over to the basic PC or Macs you might need to get started editing video. When I first got started, I was editing on a Mac Mini. It was an M2 Mac Mini. Make sure you get at least 16 gigs of RAM on a Mac. If you wanted to use a Mac laptop, I would advise to get the M3 14-inch MacBook Pro. Macs are expensive, but they are worth it if you get the right one you need for the project. And for video editing, you need at least 16 gigs of RAM on a Mac. Now let's switch over to PC, which is what I'm using now, that white PC behind you. That white PC is an AMD Ryzen 9. I would advise you get a Ryzen 9 or an Intel i7 or i9. And it has 32 gigs of RAM. I started with 16 and it was chugging. You need at least 32 gigs of RAM to get started in video editing on a Windows PC, hands down. And that has an NVIDIA RTX 4060. I would suggest getting a 4070 or bigger on a laptop, and a 4060 would be fine on a desktop. So now with that, we're going to get into some basic editing. In Davinici. Davinici Resolve is a free program. I have the free version right now. I'm going to upgrade to the pro version soon because I'm finally starting to outgrow the free version. But I want to show you how to get a basic project set up, a basic editing, just to get you started so you can get through your first video and then get it published to YouTube. This is going to be very basic adjustments so that you can get started. All right, with that, let's get into it. All right, so now we are in Davinici Resolve. This is how it opens up. This is how you set up a new project. Now I have a template already set up, but let's walk you through how setting up a project for yourself. You'd hit new project, you title your project. I'm going to title it what it's going to be. This is going to be 7 things I learned after 5 months of making YouTube videos. Let's go with that. Boom. Now we have our timeline, or no, we're open up to the cut page. First things first, we're going to go set up the project. So we're actually going to head over to here, click on this gear icon. Then you're going to make sure your project's set up the way you want. I'm going to want it set up to 4K. I'm going to use 23.976 because that is what I set it up in my camera for. Video monitoring is going to be in HD. It'll help things run smoother, and everything else is going to be less standard. So 4K, 23.96. Save. Now my project set up. I skipped media and I skip cut. I go straight to edit. There's no need to use these when you're just beginning. Trust me. So here you're gonna have your master. They call these bins for some reason, but think of them like folders. So you're gonna set up some folders. So you're gonna right click here, say new bin. I'm gonna call this video. Right click, new bin, we're gonna call this music. Right click, new bin, we're gonna call this next one sound effects. And if you had photos, you'd create a bin for photos. We don't have any photos for this specific video. And if you had photos, you'd create a bin for photos. We don't have any photos for this specific video. Is it tracking me? It is tracking me. This thing's pretty cool, guys. I'm not gonna lie. All right, let's move on. All right, so we're gonna go into our video, and I already have my footage right here. I'm gonna pull that up, and I'm going to drag all of my footage into video. Okay, and then I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go into my YouTube media files because that's where I have my music at, and I'll drag some music in. Some of the newest stuff I downloaded from YouTube Studio, by the way. YouTube Studio has music and it's free. All right, boom. Now we have our music. Sound effects we can find later. Photos, I'll go ahead and import a photo, just something to show you guys. Not one of those, so let's go with the San Francisco photos. I love these, my favorite photos. Actually, my screensaver on. I'll put that up there. All right, guys. So now we have our bin set up. That's our folders. Now we're going to go in and start dropping stuff on what they call a timeline. This is the timeline right here. Trust me, it's not as big of a deal as you think it is. I also created an intro and an outro, which you see on my YouTube. So I'll go ahead and import those, and I import those to the master. And I'll drop those here. So there's my intro and outro videos. Now I have everything I need in the bins to get started. All right, this is taking way longer than it needs to, so let's get going. I dropped my intro video on the timeline first, Not both of them though. Control Z to undo. I drop my intro video on the timeline first. I just put it somewhere out here because I always have my true intro, you know, at the beginning where I say what the video is about or some kind of cinematic or whatnot. So let's bring in that video to start. Now that I adjusted my mic down. Okay, this is the one where I want to get started. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this. There's other tricks you can do to shorten this video before you drag it, but there's no reason to do all that right now. All right, I'm not going to go through creating my whole video, but I drag the video on the timeline. So now I have this and I have this, and I want to drag my intro into here, and I'm going to show you how to do that, which is basically showing you how to clip the video using this blade tool, which I just use Control B, and I will show you how to do that right now. So you want to edit your video, you want to take some footage out, that's what you'll do. I'll do that right here. Let me drag it over to right there, Control B. You see how that they both are selected, or you can select both of them using Control like this, or if they're linked together, like by linking them like this, you select them, they both are selected. Right click. This is my favorite thing in the world to do on DaVinci. I just clipped mic, sorry. Right click, go to ripple cut, boom. Takes it right away, marries it back up with the clip adjacent to it, bada bing, bada boom. So then I can hit play, there goes my intro, and do this again, now that I adjusted my mic down. I'm not gonna use that. That's gonna be probably a blooper. So I'm going to hit that, Control B, and I'm actually going to drag this to the end of my timeline because I'm going to use it as a blooper at the end. So I'm just going to drag it over here, move it out of the way, get it out of the way for now. All right, now I'm going to find where my video starts. Spacebar. All right, guys, everyone. See, that's wrong. See how many times you have to do this to get it right? Today we're going to talk about the 7 things I've learned over the last 5 That's not it. I did it like 10 times, so. Yep, that was a good one. So let me find where that's at on my timeline. Hit space. Hey everyone. Okay, that's where it's at. So now I'm going to zoom in to make sure, hitting the plus and minus up here, to make sure I get right when the audio starts. I'm going to try it by hitting space bar. Hey everyone. Perfect. Now that's where I want to be. Control B. All of this stuff before it, I don't need. Now I want that little clip in the beginning, but I don't need the rest. So I'm going to go back over to where that clip ended, find it. Now I don't want this. I'm going to hit cut instead of ripple cut because I want that space to be there. Now I'm going to zoom out by hitting that button. I'm going to drag this also to the end, and then watch this, how awesome this is. I click in the middle, right click, ripple delete, boop, drags it all in. So now I have my intro, and I have it going right into starting the video. Hey everyone, Wesley here. Today, we're going to talk about this. All right, so now that I got my intro started, I'm going to come back over to and grab the beginning of the video that I wanted, where I wanted it to be. Now, perfect, right there, space. Now I'm going to zoom in because I want to get it right when I'm looking at the camera still, or close to it. So let's get it. Boom. Control B. Now I have that clip where I needed it, and I'm going to drag it to the beginning. See how easy that was? Now there's a space here. Rather than like try to figure it out, which you can by just dragging it there, boom, now it's done. You can also just drag this in the middle, and if you want it precise, now it's really there. And then you do that same thing here. Nope, actually not, because I need that clip that I have at the end. I need this. I want this back over here. Okay. Now scroll back in, right click, ripple delete, right click, ripple delete. Now there's still some of this to trim. There's other ways to trim it. Control B is the easiest way to do it, ripple cut. So now I'll come back to the beginning, and we're gonna hit play. Hey everyone, Wesley here. Today, I might have to cut some of this way down. Let's see how this looks. 5 months doing YouTube and making YouTube videos. So let's get it. All right. This is very basic. I'm not going to go crazy into it, but there was my intro. Here's my intro video. For all that didn't know, you got the gist of it. That's how you get started here in DaVinci. The next step you would do after you got all your footage where you needed it is you would go over to, I skip fusion, I skip color. You don't know these things yet. Those are for special effects and for color grading. Right now we're just doing basic videos. We're getting your video lined up on a timeline, and we're gonna get into Fairlight here in a minute. But now that we have your video lined up on a timeline, the next thing we're gonna do is add some music to it. I'm not gonna go crazy. Normally I go and I listen to every one of these songs to try to find out which one really, you know, does something for me. For now, I'm just going to pick something, pick running errands. I'm gonna drop it on audio 2, like that. Now what I like to do is I like to go to where my intro is, Control B, and drag this one up. That'll play it louder. Now I tend to drop the audio of it just a little bit though, because it might be too loud. Now these audio track 2, I'm gonna drop down to about neck 30, because you don't want your background music to be loud over your audio vocals. Okay. Wesley here. Today, let's listen. We're going to talk about turn it up a little bit. Things I learned over the last 5 months doing YouTube. It's just and making YouTube videos. So you can see right here where it clipped. Okay, so now we have our music. This is just, I didn't just do something together. For all that didn't know, if it's too loud, you just turn it down right here. So that'll get you to your basics. You'll add your outro, and then now you want to get your mic levels adjusted. Skip fusion, skip color. We don't do those yet. We're going to go to Fairlight. And only thing we're going to do is go to your audio 1, which is where your vocals are. We're going to double click on the equalizer. We're going to drop this down, and we're going to do dialogue male for me, because I am a male. First I'm gonna start playing it so you can see. First things first, I'm filming on the here it is. As well today. Do a little. I'm gonna use it to. So let me turn it off. Show you some things on the camera. Right now I'm filming with a lap mic, and I'm gonna tell you what. You're on. All right, first things first. I'm Wesley. I'm a street photographer. See how it is? It isolates my voice better. That gets you to getting your basics started. Then you're going to go to deliver. Now that I'm in deliver, you're going to go over to right here. You have to name it. 7 things. I'm not going to type the whole thing. You're going to choose the place. I always put it in the same folder where the rest of the videos are. I just create a separate folder for A-roll normally, and drop all of the footage in there, and then in the main folder I just have my final render. So anyhow, back to what I'm doing here, because I'm scatterbraining a little bit. So you got your file name, you got your location. Now you're going to say what format. I choose MP4 because I want it to be universal and easy to be used on all devices. And then I go to H.265 because that is how I shot it. Auto, and then I make sure it's at the frame rate I need it to do. Add to render queue. And then all you have to do after that is say render all, and the next thing you know, you'll go to your footage, which I'm going to go to a different one because I don't have it uploaded, but let me go to my last one, and there is my final render right there. And I'll go ahead and play it for you guys. Yeah, anyway, I'll close that down. You guys should check that out. I'll end the screen recording. I hope you learned something from this, from using DaVinci. But outside of that, that is it for this video. I'm gonna take it back to my studio camera and send it out. And I'll see you guys later. Peace. Guys, that's it for me. I just wanted to get you started on making your first video so you can upload it for others to watch, like me. And if this helped you, if this video helped you anywhere, in any way, drop me a comment so that I know it did, and share your YouTube and I'll go watch your video. If this helped you, please also consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you are considering giving it a thumbs down, how about don't? I'm just kidding. Do what you gotta do. It don't hurt my feelings. I'm still gonna keep making them. All right, that's it for this week. I appreciate you joining me. I hope this helped you. With that, I'm out of here. Peace. Today, we are going to start. Nope. Oh, goodness.